This is going to be a tutorial on tying assist hooks. Before we start, let's explain why you would want one. Here's a depth 250, pretty common swim bait. I have an assist hook, a corded assist hook in the back, and I've got a normal hook in the front. Now, with a normal hook, you could see I could get right about a half of a turn on it before the hook starts to bind. Half a turn to 3/4 of the turn, the hook is binding and the fish has leverage against me. Something like a striped bass, which we use these for, they tend to barrel roll, and when they do this they could bend the hooks or they could tear the hooks out. On the back I've got a corded assist hook, and you could see I could turn it 1, 2, almost 3 times before it starts to bind. So it allows the fish to turn with it without getting the leverage in order to throw the hooks. Now to tie these, you're going to need a number of different things. I've got a bobbin with some 210 denier thread, fly tying scissors, the hooks themselves. I've got Loon UV clear finish in the flow, which tends to work very well for this application. And I've got a UV flashlight, which I'll use to cure that UV finish. And then what I use for cord, I use this, it's kind of a micro paracord. You can see it's 1.8 millimeter. It's fairly thick, and it works well for the application that I use it for. What you see here, this is the vise that I use. This is a Dynaking. It's a rotary vise, and you can see I could spin it around, which makes it extremely useful when I tie these, and you'll see that in just a second. This vise is made by Dynaking, and I use it to tie flies. I don't think anybody in their right mind would get this just to tie hooks. Okay, so let's now tie our assist hook. I'm going to use Owner 1/0 ST66s. It's a 4X strong hook, fairly common for us to use swim baiting for stripers. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to tie in my thread. And if you're unsure how to do this, you could go to any fly tying tutorial. And with my thread, I'm going to lay a very smooth base here. Really just because I don't want the cord to slip on it when I put it on. So I'm going to cover that shank of the hook, and I'm going to go back forward here, and I think I'm good there. Then I'm going to get a piece of my cord, and the way it's going to work is it's going to come in through one side of the hook and out the other side, kind of like that. So the way I want to tie it in, I don't want to tie it in where the eye is, like here or here. I want to tie it on that other side. And I normally keep it a little frayed because that makes it easier for me to tie it in flat. And I'll just take a few turns on here. And there you can see how I got it in flat. And I'm going to work it all the way down towards the back. And I don't need to cover everything because I'll do that later. And then what I want to do is I want it to go around the shank, the bottom, and then I want to go through the hole at that point. And I want to make it kind of tight. You can see how the cord moves when I make it tight. And I'm just going to tie it down here now that I've got that tight. And I don't have to be perfect on here. Just going to kind of secure it here. And then now that it's coming through on this side, I'm going to loop it around and back through. And at this point, I need to kind of figure out how much cord I want. If I make the loop too small, it doesn't have the ability to turn. If I make it too long, it could turn all you want, but then the hook's hanging down really low. So what I normally do is I normally make the loop about 1.5 times what the normal eye looks like, which in this case that's about right there. And then I'll start tying this down. I'll take it all the way to the back, and then I want to loop this around, and I want it to finish over here. So I'm going to tighten it up, and then I've got it right there. And I'm going to go ahead and trim it off at an angle. And then at this point, I will tie everything down, and I want to cover everything with the chartreuse thread. And you could use different color threads. You could use red or pink or anything you want. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I kind of don't like. And I'll turn it. Make sure everything's covered, which it more or less is. And then I'll tie it off. And the way I'll tie it off is I'll first make a half hitch, and then I'll do a hand whip finish. 3 turns, and I'll do that a second time. And then to tie it off, I just get my scissors, form a V, and I'll just push it. And that'll cut it and it'll be clean. Then the next thing I'm doing, I'm going to get my UV finish and my UV flashlight. Get a paper towel just in case. And I'm going to put it onto my wraps here. And where the cord goes around the bend of the hook, I want to make sure that that area is secure. And same thing here in the front. You're going to cover everything, but I pay special attention to those areas. Okay, and you can see how the rotary vise is handy here, because I could keep turning it. If I don't, the glue will sag. And then I'm going to get my UV flashlight, and the UV light is what actually cures the resin. So I'm just going to put that on there, turn it around, make sure the UV light hits everything. And I use the flow version just because it really soaks into the thread and the cord very well, and it binds everything together. Now everything is dry. This is absolutely smooth. And at this point,